On today's episode, we're going to be fixing a misfire.
There's nothing wrong with me.
But you are fire, though.
Ah, spicy.
Hey everyone, it's Epi, the Mustang Master, and with me today is Katie and Evan.
What's up, guys? So today behind me, we got my 2014 Mustang GT. Epi and Katie are coming to the rescue for this car. It sat all winter, about a month and a half ago. Went to start it up and it started backfiring. It had a bad smell and it popped P030, code for misfire on cylinder 3. Replaced the battery. It also then threw an O2 sensor code. So went to the experts and they're here to help me out.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, this was 2 weeks ago we came out and we took a quick look at it and yeah, kind of went through. And the first thing I noticed right off the bat, we had mice damage on the cylinder 1 coil. And then the other thing I noticed right off the bat is the MSD coils, which are notorious for being crappy. So, okay, well, that's not good. The wire damage to the cylinder 1 coil was not good also. And then I pulled the plug out and definitely seen better days. So I think, like I said, like I told Evan, the first thing first is let's give it a basic tune-up, new plugs. We'll get rid of the MSD coils and then we'll put the factory Ford OEM coils on there, because that's the best. I mean, we've made 1,000 horsepower with stock coils. There's nothing wrong with them. They're the best. The MSD's absolute junk. And then fix the cylinder 1. Even though it doesn't have a misfire on cylinder 1, but it's one of those things. The wire's so damaged there, it can cause other cylinders to kind of act up a little bit. So let's just fix that. Fix the obvious. Go from there, and then we'll see if there's any other issues. But hopefully that should take care of most of it.
Fingers crossed.
Yep.
Awesome.
Let's get to it. All right. First things first, we got to pop these coil covers off. On these Coyote engines, there's this little tab here. Just push that this way with your finger and then pops right out. Very simple, easy design. And then this should just pop right off. And now you can see the good old garbage MSD coils, which are by far one of the worst of the market.
Why are they so bad?
Now, a lot of these MSDs, these aftermarket coils, they advertise, higher voltage, higher whatever, and the problem is that the packaging is exactly the same. In fact, hang on one second, let me pull a coil here. If I can get it out. Come on, there we go. Physically, there's no difference other than the color. So how do you get higher voltage from something that's exactly the same package? Because in order to get more voltage, you have to change the amount of windings. But my theory anyway is the fact that they advertise higher voltage, but they don't advertise higher amperage. So amperage and voltage is almost like horsepower and torque. This is kind of the best analogy I can think of. Horsepower is your voltage, torque is your amperage. So these don't have the amperage behind them like the factory ones do. In order to have the same package, you have to sacrifice one or the other. And the factory ones are perfectly engineered. Even on 1,000 horsepower engines, we run the stock ones. They're just the best of the best. Talk to any tuner in the world, they'll agree with you on that. At least for at most applications anyway. It used to be true for the older stuff, the old like the old push rod motors. You used to get a bigger coil or whatever, or better coil anyway. Especially the old canister style coils with the old points ignition, that kind of stuff. Yeah, these aftermarket coils were better than those, but this is a 2013 and it has a very modern coil. These are the best. There's no denying that. Even the older mod motors, like, the 96 to 04 cars, factory coils are the best. So I don't want to throw this out, but there you go. Okay. All right, first things first, we're going to pull this #1 coil out and unplug it, and then we're going to, I think we're going to fix the plug here real quick. Just get that out the way. We're going to cut it right about there, probably about 1 inch away from the end of the connector here real quick, and then snippy snip. Now, something I like to do is offset these. So what you do is you kind of cut back a little bit. I'm going to cut maybe about another inch off of one, and it's going to make it a little harder to work on. But what happens is when you put the connectors here, you're going to have enough slack between the two that you can kind of put them real tight together. Because if you put two connectors side by side, they end up being pretty bulky. So I'm going to just offset them a little bit, and then that way when I put it back together, it's going to look a lot cleaner. This new connector comes with 3 pins. This one only has 2 pins. So something I like to do is to, if I can get this off, should have brought more tools. Basically pull the 3rd pin out. We don't need it, so I'm going to pull this out real quick, and then I'll be right back. All right, so on this style connector, there's this white plastic piece. You just got to pop that out like so, and then there's a little tab on the inside that you just have to pry a little bit. I have to take my glasses off because things are getting serious.
Did you get it?
Yeah.
Sweet.
All right. Okay. So now, when you're popping this back end, you're going to have to make sure that the pins are oriented in the same direction, because these do like to spin like that. See?
Oh, look at that.
So make sure they're in the same correct position. They're oriented the same direction, and then now you should be able to just pop. Boom, done. So now we only have 2 pins like the original one. Now, you could have been lazy, just cut the 3rd one. This is a lot cleaner. I like to do clean work here, so we will chop off. This is where you got to be careful. You want to make sure that you have enough slack. Remember how we offset them? I didn't offset them when I first cut them, so I'm going to have to make sure that I don't make this too short for myself. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find the brown wire, which is the one that is the longest on this end, and see which one it goes to, which should be the left side. Yeah, so it's on the left side, so we're going to make sure this one's going to be the shortest of the two. So I'm going to do a rough estimate right there. We're going to cut that first. Now, what I'd like to do is I just like to line them up like so, and then I just crimped it real quick just so I can see where I'm going to cut. And now, snip. Now let's see how it's offset. That should line up perfectly. It's my old trusty snap-on wire strippers, and
It's the only time Eppy's ever paid for a stripper.
No comment on that one. I had a bachelor party, if you wanted to call that, so.
Well, you didn't pay for it.
Oh, technically, oh, you're right. Technically, I didn't pay for it. Okay, good. Okay, so now we're gonna strip the other side. I like to strip them down about 5/16 of an inch or 8mm if you're on the wrong side of the big old Atlantic. And is this okay? Yeah, that's fine. They don't work. Okay. So my plan is actually, I'm gonna use the insides of these. Now, I know guys like to say, oh, you gotta solder them or whatever. I agree, soldering them is always the best option. But this is the second best option, is to take these in. You can buy these separately. Actually, in fact, I have some here. The problem is that these are too big. These are the 14 to 16 gauge ones. These are too big. These are the 18 to 20s, 18 to 22s, I believe. These will work perfectly. So what I like to do is I like to just take the guts out of these, actually use these for something, and then put heat shrink over this whole connection. It's a great field repair if you don't have your soldering iron or whatever, because this is a side job, of course. So I don't have all my tools with me, and quite honestly, this will work just fine. I've done this for years and years. It's a fine repair. Soldering is always the best option, of course, but if you're on the road and you don't have a soldering iron, I would do this if you can. Third option are these. This is the other option. If you don't have heat shrink with you and you don't want to pull the guts out of these, you can get these. I'm gonna get a lot of hate for this, I know, but I don't care because I've done this so many times and it's worked just fine. I've seen repairs for these for the last 10, 12 years, no problems whatsoever. These are basically heat shrink versions of this. And as long as it's a good, solid connection, you always, as soon as you crimp it, you gotta make sure you gotta pull on those wires. If you pull on them, they don't pull out, then you're fine. And then heat shrink them. These are just heat shrink versions of that. These are a little bulky when you're done with them, so I don't always like to use them. So I like to use the heat shrink, the regular small heat shrink over it, because then it's a nice tight connection and it's waterproof. So the key thing, this one likes to bite in there. This is why it's worth the $65 that I paid for these stupid things. Pull on it, perfect. Same thing for this side. I also like to make sure the strands are twisted a little bit. It'll make it a lot easier to go in. And then crimp. Nice solid crimp. I almost had an incident here, so I'm putting that thing back in there. Make sure you have the heat shrink on. Wink, wink. Let's see here. Get that second one. Hold the wire in place and crimp. Give it a couple good crimps on there. Extra tight. And a little wire tug. You know, if you forget which wire is which on the connector, let's say you dropped the connector and it went missing, you can always look at the next coil. One wire is always going to be the same color as the rest of them. That's usually the power side, and then the ground side gets controlled by the computer. So in this case, the brown wire is on the left side of the coil, and the brown wire is on the left side of the coil on this one. And then put your heat shrink in right in the middle. Get yourself a nice little lighter here. Remember, these are offset, so they're not going to be perfectly symmetrical. You get to hear nature now.
The wind.
All right, so now we're gonna, now that this is fixed, we're gonna pop all the coils off and then start pulling spark plugs out. So this will be a little compilation, or what do you call it? One of those time lapse deals.
Yeah, with a little music.
boot extractor. We should be able to just get in there. Excuse me, sorry.
How dare you? Hey, look at that.
Hey, I got one of it. Part of it. Hear that pop?
Sure did.
So if you ever have this issue of getting these boots stuck in there, long needle nose, twist it, because this is what really gets stuck in the on the spark plug. It's these ends, and that's why you're twisting it is always fine to be the best option to get these out. So
Cool.
out. One of my trusty tools here. This is a spark plug removal socket and installer. It installs the what do you call it, the sockets as well. I don't know why I called it just an installer.
Well, right now it's an extractor.
It's an extractor.
And then later it'll be an installer.
So my favorite thing about it is that it's magnetic. So you can't drop the socket when you pull it out. And it doesn't get stuck in the boot like on the cheaper sockets that you have the little rubber insert. I'm not a fan of those.
Because you kind of have to press it in then, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then sometimes that boot actually gets stuck on the socket on the spark plug after you remove it or install it, and then you pull the socket out and the boot, it's still stuck inside.
It still stays in
yeah,
there.
so
Yeah.
this one's a lifesaver. My little leverage guy here. Oh, these are in
Quite
there.
torqued.
Yep.
That's risky.
Yeah. On these Coyote engines, this number 4 cylinder is always a bit of a pain because you got this big bulky
It's in the way.
connector thing. Yeah, it's always in the way.
That one was even better. That front one was not easy.
Yeah. Well, I did pull this one out when we first stopped by.
Yep. Again, could be compounding the issue of what he was experiencing too.
Yeah. This one's also not as bad as I thought. However, that gap is a little much. Yeah, see, this one is actually a little dingy. That's why I said number 3 wasn't all that great. That one's okay.
It's like every other. You want to see it? You go.
Forward OEM Motorcrafts. That's the best of the best. There you go. Just dropped it in cylinder 1 or cylinder 5.
I'm going to use this so it goes in straight. Is that okay?
That's fine. So take it off of the ratchet.
Yeah. This.
Yes. And always start them
And
by
then
hand.
go
Yes. They
here.
always-
And then very lightly twist in.
Just let them start by hand.
It doesn't want to. It wants to just magnet.
That's why I
to
just
the
drop them
sides.
in. That's why I just drop them in the hole and then
Okay.
put the socket over. So that's fine.
And you can finger twist it in so you know it threads right.
Yeah. All right. Let me show you why there's one way to open these.
Okay.
It's very simple. At least on these Motorcrafts, there's the number 1 on there.
Yeah.
If you pull it this way, this is what happens. You get that end with
look
the
at
sleeve
that.
on it. If I pull it the other way, grab it by the tip.
And then the sleeve stays in.
Yeah, exactly.
Efficiency.
Efficiency.
Cool.
That little sleeve is just to keep it from
Damaging the end of
damaging this.
Yeah, the spark
gap
part.
Yeah. These are close to being properly gapped, but you always want to check them, make sure.
Well, they should all be the same too.
Yeah.
So just at least to make sure they're the same if they are gapped nice or properly for your car.
Yes, exactly. There you go. There you go. There's two types of seats on spark plugs. There's this, which is a taper seat, and then there's a gasket seat. And on the gasket seat, you turn it about quarter turn, maybe. And you kind of feel it as the gasket, which is a crush washer, as it crimps down, you feel it. You kind of feel it slowly get tight. On these things get almost instantly tight. So these are like 1/16 of a turn, somewhere around there.
Like once it stops, that's where you stop. Like you don't need to.
Yeah. The other thing is a lot of people tell you to put anti-seize on there. The reason I don't put anti-seize on there, believe it or not, is because honestly, you should be changing these plugs out sooner than the 100,000s that they recommend. I do them 50 to 60,000s, just because, especially in a performance engine, you go through these more often than a regular spark plug. But the other thing is, anti-seize actually doesn't act as a good conductor. I know that the taper seat right here acts as a conductor, but if you have more threads engaging onto the actual metal, you have a much better ground for your spark. So I like to put them in raw, I guess.
Okay.
If you do plan on running it for the 100,000 miles, just put a little bit of anti-seize on there. Not a lot, just a little bit. But the less you put on there, the more conductive it becomes, and
the better, cleaner spark you have.
Yeah, exactly. So
cool.
Always start these by hand. No tools, no power tools whatsoever.
Don't want to cross thread anything.
Yeah.
That's bad news bears.
Yeah. Even removing them, I never want to use a power tool on there, because if it gets halfway through and then the threads get gummed up, you can actually ruin the threads. And if you use the method by hand, it allows you to kind of go back and forth sometimes. So I've had situations where the threads were kind of gummed up and it gets to a certain point where it stops. And then what I do is I'll back off and then I'll go a little bit further next time, and then keep going until you get the whole thing out. So,
and actually, as a matter of fact, I think I want to do that with that last one back there, because as I was like threading it in, it felt a little gummy. So I think I want to kind of back that one out and then kind of redo it, reseat it, because I don't want those threads to be gummy.
Good advice. Also, if you have a Gen 1 engine like this one, cheap performance options. If you don't want to break the bank, 2018 and up, 2018 to 2023 intake manifold out of a regular GT is a great option, because you can get those pretty cheap. And then a JLT cold air intake. Now, both of those mods require an actual performance tune, but they will gain about 30 to 40 horse over stock. So it's a nice upgrade on these Coyote engines.
GLT makes good cold air intakes.
They make great cold air intakes. The big thing is that, so this K&N cold air intake does absolutely nothing other than looks. And why do I say that is because if you look at the size diameter of the inlet tube, it's about the same as stock, versus like the GLT. So see, I just caused a little sparky spark. So that's tight. You want to tighten yours, or are you scared?
I mean, I've done my own, several of them.
Yeah.
I am going to back this one out first.
Okay.
And put it back in. Yeah, it just feels like sticky almost. So, oh yeah, that's perfect.
Nice.
Okay, good. Okay. And then you said like,
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, you can feel when it squeezes down in there.
Exactly. You don't want to go further than that. It's not like these things vibrate loose or anything.
Right. What? Perfect.
15, if you want to get specific,
15 foot-pounds.
Between 15 and 20 foot-pounds is enough.
That's perfect. That was probably like 16. I'm just kidding.
There you go.
All right, here we go.
Click. All right. We can start dropping in coils.
The right coils.
The correct OEM coils. Two of the most counterfeited items in the automotive world are ignition coils and spark plugs. So when you're buying OEM coils and OEM spark plugs, make sure you get them from a reputable source. I've gotten counterfeit stuff from Rock Auto. I've gotten it from Amazon, eBay. Those sites you always want to avoid.
Yeah.
You definitely want to go with, I know the dealership's expensive, but the dealership, your surefire way of getting the OEM stuff. You can get from the dealer, from a wholesale manufacturer dealer like Ford. Tasker Ford is a popular spot for Mustang stuff. You know you're getting the OEM stuff from there, or one of the big sites like American Muscle, Late Model Restoration. Those places, you know, you're going to get OEM stuff from there.
Okay. Anything with prep or anything like that, or just the same way they came out, go in? Yeah,
the same way they went out, go in.
And just make sure that it feels good, because it has to be lined up with the spark plug, which since they're all tightened properly, it should be lined fine.
These have a little bit of dielectric grease in there, so otherwise put a little dab of dielectric grease.
Okay.
They don't.
That's fine.
Now that we got all the plugs in and the new coils and the fixed a little connector there, let's start it up and see how it runs. That's so much better. That sounds great. Like a brand new car.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's so smooth now.
That's a big,
That's a huge difference, yeah.
Wow. So I wonder, is that something that usually, like, it happens right away, a misfire, or can it get worse over time?
It gets worse over time.
So I wonder if it's been, I don't want to say limping, but if it's been not that smooth in a long time, and it's sitting.
It just setting it, may have just exacerbated the problem. Yeah.
Wow, that is noticeably smoother.
I gotta wait for my scan tool to warm up. Literally, it's such a dinosaur. It runs on Windows CE, which is like the handheld version of Windows from like 1997. All right, we're gonna clear the codes now. Well, first I'm gonna check the codes to see what's on there. Make sure there's no new codes. Cylinder 1 misfire this time. Last time was cylinder 3, right?
Yes, cylinder 3, and then I think you swapped the coils last time.
Oh, I did, didn't I?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so it did follow the cylinder 1. Okay, so now we know for sure that coil was bad.
Yep.
It was definitely on its way out. Because that's what I was trying to do. So if you ever have that issue where you have a specific cylinder and you're trying to diagnose whether it's a spark plug or the coil, what you can do is switch the coil to a different cylinder, and then switch the spark plug to another cylinder, not the one that you just put on it. Remember where you put all three, and then drive it around, get it to misfire, clear the codes obviously first, drive it around, and then see where the code lands. So let's say you have cylinder 3 that's misfiring, you put it on cylinder 1, you put the coil on cylinder 1, and then you put the spark plug on cylinder 5. Well, you go drive it around, and then cylinder 1 now misfires, you know it's the coil, or cylinder 5 misfires, you know it's the spark plug. So that's one way to do it if you don't have all the proper tools to diagnose it. But that's a quick way to diagnosing a misfire on these cars. So now we know for sure it was definitely a bad coil. So now we can delete, clear codes, wait for this 40 megahertz processor to do its thing. All right, codes cleared. Evan, you ready for taking for a spin?
Let's do it.
All right.
Oh yeah, compared to when I was driving it before,
Uh-huh.
at these low speeds, it was bucking and
Yeah.
just, you could tell it was not happy.
Yeah, and all this thing's like a brand new car now.
Yeah,
Yeah, super smooth.
it is so much smoother. You know, even I could tell by you taking off before,
Yeah.
there would almost be like a slight stutter.
Yeah.
And that seems to have completely gone away.
Well, just in the garage idling, I knew right off the bat, it's like, that's a dead miss. And a dead miss like that, it's always ignition related. Almost always. I want to say always, but it's almost always ignition related. And most of the time, it's always going to be either a spark plug or a coil. And as soon as I saw those MSD coils, I was like, man, that's likely the culprit. But then I saw that plug was also kind of fouled out a little bit. But many times, the reason why that's fouled out in the first place is because of a bad coil.
Sure, that makes total sense.
Yeah.
And by the way, all the viewers, I did not do that. That was the prior owner of the car. Come to think of it, Abby, I think this is the first time I've ever been passenger in this car.
Really?
Yeah.
Isn't it a weird sensation?
It's very different.
Yeah.
Because, you know, when you're holding the steering wheel, you don't feel the torque as much. So it's like over
Right.
here.
I didn't really get on it. I just wanted to cruise, just get it a little bit under throttle, and then make sure it doesn't buck and jerk and do anything
Yeah.
weird. Yeah, it's silky smooth now. And I don't know why they would change the coils in the first place unless they had an issue with the original ones. But the original ones, I mean, we've seen those things last a long time. So it's not a major issue with the OEM coils. Although, you know, again, you get 72,000 miles, so it's possible one might have been kind of, you know, a little bit, and they decided, oh, well, they probably, you know what it was? I bet you they saw the price of one factory coil, which I know you were just talking about, and they were like, well, I can get a whole set for cheaper, with the MSD ones for,
Right.
you know, a couple bucks more than one original coil. It's tempting, but like I said, it's just they're just not the same quality. They always have issues, and you know, this is a prime example of them. I mean, how old can those coils be? Possibly, you know, they're not that old, because if you think about it, I mean, this car is a 13, right?
14.
14. So this car is only 12 years old. How old can those coils actually be? Definitely less than 12 years old. So maybe 6 or 7 years old.
And it's very possible, like you said, because of the price and given some of the other small modifications like that throttle body, he might have been a little bit of an older gentleman that had a parts catalog and figured, oh, why not? It's advertised, it's going to be better.
Right, exactly. And I don't know if you missed a conversation. The MSD coils, you know, like the old cars, you know, when you go back to like the cars from the 60s, 70s, even 80s cars, those had canister style coils, and the MSD coils on those do make a difference. Because they were, you know, back in the day, they weren't looking for super performance. They were looking for, you know, emissions performance. So when it came to those style coils, yeah, the MSD ones are a lot better than the OEM coils. But these newer MSD coils, you know, the factory wanted to get as much performance out of them as possible, so they did the best they could. And you have to kind of have a balance between voltage and amperage on a coil because of the packaging. You can only do so much. In the factory, they did a lot of engineering when it comes to these coils, so they did the best they possibly could in that package, and they had the best balance. And again, going back to the whole horsepower versus torque, you got your voltage versus amperage. Your voltage is your horsepower, your amperage is your torque. You kind of have to have the balance of both in order to have the most performance as possible. So that's the same thing with ignition coils. And again, the other thing is, the other aspect of it is quality too. You got to think about the quality of the windings, of the, you know, electronics that may be inside the coils. They're not always the best, and they may work great at first, but then as soon as you put them through heat cycles, because it's a rough environment and underneath the hood of a car, that's where you got to worry about is, you know, is it going to last in you know, hot temperatures? You know, underneath the hood, it can get up to 150, 200 degrees. So that's a hostile environment for any kind of performance, any kind of, not performance, but just any kind of, you know, item, any kind of device inside the engine bay. So something you always got to worry about is the quality of stuff. So again, OEM's the best. Works. They're well engineered for a reason. What'd you think of today?
It was awesome. Good learning.
Learn something?
Good not what to do. Don't drop stuff in.
It's definitely a comedy of errors today. Make sure you bring all your tools and make sure you don't fuck up. Anyways, no, we definitely, today was a good day. One of the most common things on these cars is misfires, and I knew right off the bat, swap the coils around, see what it is. Yeah. And yeah, I mean, sure enough, yeah, that was it. That took care of the problem. Drove perfectly smooth. I mean, Evan's very happy with it. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, and I'm sure you learned quite a bit today. Yeah. So that's awesome. It's a great day.
And an example of like, you get some basic tools and basic stuff, and you can really do quite a bit.
Yeah, exactly. We didn't need a whole lot of tools. It's just the right, even like I said, even just a regular spark plug socket, or even like these take a 16 millimeter / 5/8 socket, or just a regular socket, and you can grab them out with a magnet or something, you know. I should have brought a piece of hose. I should have showed you the other trick I have for putting spark plugs in. Yeah. Is with a piece of hose. Yeah. And then you stick it on the end, and then you can thread them in. Especially if you got weird situations where it's like underneath the header, and it's like you got to sneak your hand in there, whatever. You can grab a long piece of hose and then shove it on the end of the spark plug, and then
feed it in that way.
Feed it in. Turn it by hand. You can turn it by hand with the hose itself. Yeah. And then once it's threaded in, you can just pop the thing out, put the socket on there, and get it out. Yeah.
So that'd be good on my my white car. Yeah. Because I really got to get my hand in there. I'm lucky to have small hands.
With the push rod motor, yeah, exactly. And the nice thing is that you can also twist it and then still be able to turn it. As long as you're holding the other side and kind of guiding it in, right, you can get it in. So it's very versatile. An idea. Maybe we'll do that on your car when we change the spark plugs, when we do the supercharger.
Cool.
So
Sounds good.
anyways, lots to learn.
Lots
There's
to learn.
always tricks and stuff that I've been doing this for 25 years. So there's always tricks of the trade.
Yep.
Anyways, I think that does it for today. And we will see you next time on Alcarods Garage out in the field.
Bye, guys.